In just 19 seconds, one of Britain's most beloved chat show hosts completely lost control on live television, attacking his guest with such venom that it ended with a furious walk-off that has the entire country talking this morning. Before we dive into this explosive story, make sure you subscribe to our channel for daily videos exposing Britain's darkest scandals. Hit that bell icon so you never miss the drama. Last night's episode of the Graham Norton Show was supposed to be a celebration. Ricky Gervais was there to promote his latest Netflix special, sitting on that famous red couch alongside a couple of Hollywood actors who were barely getting a word in. The studio audience was packed, the champagne was flowing, and everything seemed normal. But what started as playful banter between two of British television's biggest names quickly descended into something nobody saw coming. Graham opened with his usual charm, that wide smile plastered across his face as he introduced Ricky to thunderous applause. The comedian walked out in his typical black jeans and black shirt, waving to the crowd with that confident swagger he's known for. He settled into the couch, accepted his glass of wine, and the interview began. "So, Ricky, another Netflix special," Graham said, leaning back in his chair. "How many is that now? Are you just living in their offices at this point?" The audience laughed. Ricky grinned. "Well, they keep paying me, so I keep showing up. It's a simple arrangement, really. And this one is called what? Mortality? Sounds cheerful." "It's about getting older, Graham. Something you'd know a bit about." More laughter from the crowd. Graham smiled, but there was something slightly forced about it. "Careful now," Graham said, wagging his finger. "I've still got a few good years left in me." "Oh, I'm sure you do," Ricky replied. "Though I have to say, mate, the Botox is doing some heavy lifting these days." The audience made that collective ooh sound. Graham's smile tightened. "I beg your pardon. I'm just saying, you're looking very smooth, very shiny. I could practically see my reflection in your forehead when I walked out here." Graham laughed, but it was different now, sharper. "Well, at least I'm making an effort. You look like you've just rolled out of bed. Again." "Yeah, but I'm honest about it," Ricky shot back. "I'm not pretending to be something I'm not." The other guests on the couch were starting to shift uncomfortably. Graham took a sip of his wine, and when he set the glass down, his expression had changed. "Let's talk about your special then, shall we? Before you insult me any further." "I thought we were having a laugh," Ricky said, his brow furrowing slightly. "Isn't that what we do? There's having a laugh, and then there's being unnecessarily cruel," Graham replied. "But I suppose that's your brand now, isn't it? Just say whatever offensive thing pops into your head and call it comedy." The studio audience went quiet. This wasn't playful anymore. Ricky sat up straighter. "Hang on. Are you actually having a go at me right now?" "I'm simply pointing out that perhaps your comedy has become a bit lazy," Graham said, and there was a coldness in his voice that nobody had heard before. "You used to be clever, Ricky. You used to make people think. Now you just seem to enjoy making people uncomfortable." "That's rich coming from you," Ricky said, his voice rising. "Your whole show is built on getting celebrities pissed and making them tell embarrassing stories. Don't lecture me about lazy comedy." Graham's face flushed red. "At least I do it with charm. You just bully people and hide behind 'I'm just joking' when they get upset." "Bully people?" Ricky's voice was getting louder now. "Are you serious right now, Graham? You're the one who just insulted my appearance on your own bloody show." "I was responding to your insult," Graham snapped back. "You started this. It was a joke. We've taken the piss out of each other for years. What the hell has gotten into you?" The camera operators were zooming in closer now, sensing that something real was happening. The other guests on the couch were practically frozen, their eyes darting between the two men like spectators at a tennis match. Graham set down his wineglass with such force that it made a sharp clink against the table. "You want to know what's gotten into me? I'm tired, Ricky. I'm tired of comedians like you thinking you can say absolutely anything and face no consequences. I'm tired of the arrogance. I'm tired of watching you punch down at people and then acting like you're some kind of truth teller." "Punch down?" Ricky looked genuinely shocked. "Who the hell am I punching down at?" "Oh, I don't know, maybe the trans community? Maybe people who are just trying to live their lives without being made into punchlines?" "Here we go," Ricky said, throwing his hands up. "I knew this was coming. You haven't even watched the special, Have you? I don't need to watch it to know what's in it, Graham said. It's the same material you've been doing for the past 3 years. The same tired jokes about the same marginalized people. And frankly, it's embarrassing. The audience was dead silent now. You could hear people breathing. Ricky's face had gone from confused to angry. You have no right to sit there and tell me what I can and can't joke about. That's not how comedy works. Maybe it should be, Graham shot back. Maybe comedy should actually have some responsibility attached to it. Maybe we shouldn't be giving platforms to people who use their fame to mock vulnerable communities. Vulnerable communities? Ricky stood up now, the wine glass in his hand sloshing slightly. Graham, you're talking absolute nonsense. I make fun of everyone. That's equality. I don't treat anyone like they're too fragile to handle a joke. That's not equality, that's cruelty dressed up as fairness, Graham said, also standing now. The other guests scrambled to move out of the way. And the fact that you can't see the difference is exactly the problem. No, the problem is that you've decided you're the moral arbiter of comedy now, Ricky said, pointing at Graham. When did you become so bloody sanctimonious? You used to be fun, Graham. You used to understand that comedy is supposed to push boundaries. There's pushing boundaries and then there's being a dick, Graham said. And several people in the audience gasped at the profanity. And lately, Ricky, you've been the latter. Oh, piss off, Ricky said, shaking his head. I'm not standing here and letting you lecture me on my own career. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm someone who's watched your comedy devolve into mean-spirited rubbish, Graham said, his voice getting shrill. You used to be brilliant. The Office was brilliant. Extras was brilliant. But now? Now you're just an angry middle-aged man shouting at clouds and calling it comedy. And you're just a bitter talk show host who's jealous that I'm still relevant, Ricky shouted back. The audience was murmuring now, shocked by what they were witnessing. Relevant? Graham laughed, but it was a harsh, ugly sound. Is that what you call it? Being relevant? You're not relevant, Ricky. You're just controversial. And there's a massive difference. At least I have something to say, Ricky said. At least I'm not just sitting here every week kissing celebrity arse and pretending like that's meaningful television. Get out, Graham said suddenly. The whole studio seemed to freeze. Ricky stared at him. What? I said, get out. Get off my show. I'm not giving you a platform to promote your hateful garbage. Hateful? Ricky's voice cracked with disbelief. Are you out of your mind? Nothing I do is hateful. I make jokes, Graham. Jokes. Remember those? The things that used to make people laugh before everyone became so bloody sensitive? Those aren't jokes. They're attacks, Graham said, his finger jabbing toward Ricky. And I'm not going to sit here and help you spread them. So leave. Now. Fine, Ricky said, setting his wine glass down on the table with a loud thunk. I'm happy to leave. This has become a joke anyway. And not the funny kind. Oh, how original, Graham sneered. Another cutting observation from the comedy genius. Ricky turned to face Graham fully, his face red with anger. You know what your problem is, Graham? You've spent so long worrying about what people think of you that you've forgotten how to have an actual opinion. You're so desperate to be liked by everyone that you'll throw your own mates under the bus to score points with Twitter. Don't you dare, Graham said, his voice shaking now. Don't you dare make this about social media. This is about you and your refusal to evolve. The world has changed, Ricky. People are more aware now. They understand the impact that words can have. But you're stuck in 2005, making the same edgy jokes that stopped being edgy a decade ago. The world hasn't changed, Graham. People like you have just lost your sense of humor, Ricky said. You've let a vocal minority convince you that being offended is some kind of virtue. Well, I'm not playing that game. I'm going to keep making jokes about whatever I want, and if people don't like it, they don't have to watch. Then I guess I'm one of those people, Graham said coldly. Because I don't want to watch anymore. I don't want to watch you anymore. So get off my show. Ricky stared at him for a long moment, and you could see the genuine hurt flash across his face before the anger came back. You know what? This is pathetic. You're pathetic. You've become everything that's wrong with modern entertainment. You're so scared of offending anyone that you don't stand for anything. I stand for not being a bully, Graham said. I stand for not punching down at people who already have it hard enough. I stand for using my platform responsibly. What do you stand for, Ricky? Besides your own ego? I stand for free speech, Ricky said. I stand for comedy without censorship. I stand for treating adults like adults who can handle a fucking joke without having a breakdown. Several audience members gasped again at the profanity. Graham's eyes widened. Don't you dare swear on my show. It's a bit late for that, mate, Ricky said. We're already well past professional. You started this. You brought this on yourself. I brought this on myself? Graham's voice was reaching a fever pitch now. I brought this on myself by calling out your bigotry? Bigotry? Ricky exploded. Are you actually calling me a bigot right now? Me? Graham, you've lost the plot. You've completely lost the plot. Have I? Graham shouted back. Or have you just surrounded yourself with men for so long that you can't handle actual criticism anymore? This isn't criticism. This is a bloody ambush, Ricky yelled. You invited me here under false pretenses, just so you could grandstand and virtue signal to your audience. Oh, please, Graham said dismissively. Everything is virtue signaling to people like you. God forbid someone actually cares about something other than themselves. People like me? Ricky's voice was dangerous now. What exactly do you mean by that? I mean, comedians who have forgotten that comedy is supposed to comfort the afflicted, not afflict the comfortable, Graham said. You've become the establishment, Ricky. You're the comfortable. You're the powerful. And yet you spend all your time attacking people who have none of your privilege. That is such horseshit, Ricky said, shaking his head. Such absolute horseshit. I came from nothing, Graham. Nothing. I worked my arse off to get where I am. Don't you dare stand there in your expensive suit on your expensive set and lecture me about privilege. This isn't about where you came from. It's about where you are now, Graham said. And where you are now is a position of massive influence, which you use to mock and belittle people. That's not comedy, Ricky. That's just cruelty with a punchline. You don't get to define what comedy is, Ricky said, his voice low and intense. Nobody does. That's the whole point. Comedy is subjective. It's personal. It's about finding humor in the darkest places. And if you've forgotten that, then maybe you're the one who should quit. Maybe I should, Graham said. Maybe I should quit before I turn into someone like you. Someone so convinced of their own righteousness that they can't see the damage they're doing. Damage? Ricky laughed, but there was no humor in it. What damage am I doing, Graham? Making jokes? That's the damage? People laughing is damage now? When those jokes target vulnerable people, yes, Graham said. When those jokes contribute to a culture of intolerance, yes. When those jokes make it harder for marginalized communities to live their lives safely, yes. That's damage. That is the biggest load of dramatic nonsense I've ever heard, Ricky said. My jokes aren't making anyone unsafe. They're jokes. They exist in the context of a comedy special. People who watch them know what they're getting. They're not manifestos. They're not calls to action. They're just observations about the absurdity of modern life. Observations that just happen to always target the same groups of people, Graham said. Funny how that works out. I target everyone, Ricky insisted. I make fun of religion, politics, celebrities, myself, everyone. But for some reason, you and people like you have decided that certain groups are off limits. Well, I reject that completely. If comedy has rules about who you can and can't mock, then it's not comedy anymore. It's propaganda. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Graham said. Nobody's stopping you from making your little jokes. I'm just saying I don't want to be complicit in spreading them. I don't want my show to be a launching pad for material that hurts people. Then you're not a talk show host. You're a censor, Ricky said. And that's your choice, mate. But don't pretend it's some noble moral stance. It's cowardice. You're scared of the backlash, so you're trying to score easy points by attacking me. I'm not scared of anything, Graham said, but his voice wavered slightly. I'm just tired of giving airtime to people who refuse to grow up. Grow up? Ricky's eyebrows shot up. That's what you think this is about? Growing up? Graham, comedy is about staying in touch with that part of you that questions everything and refuses to accept what you're told to think. It's about rebellion. It's about irreverence. If you've lost that, then you've grown old, not up. That's a very convenient philosophy for someone who makes millions being controversial, Graham said. Very convenient indeed. And what do you make your millions doing, Graham? Ricky shot back. Getting celebrities drunk and asking them invasive questions about their personal lives? How is that any more noble than what I do? Because I do it with kindness, Graham said. Because I make people feel comfortable. Because my show is a place where people can relax and be themselves without fear of being attacked. Unless they're me, apparently, Ricky said. Because you've done nothing but attack me since I sat down. You started it with your nasty comments about my appearance, Graham said. That was banter, Ricky said, exasperated. How many times do I have to say it? We've joked like that for years. But suddenly, tonight you decide to turn it into World War III. Why? What changed? Graham was quiet for a moment, his chest heaving. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter but no less intense. What changed is that I watched your last special. I actually sat down and watched it, and I realized that I couldn't look at myself in the mirror if I helped promote another one. So this was premeditated, Ricky said, understanding dawning on his face. You invited me here specifically to do this. This was planned. Yes, Graham said simply. It was. The audience gasped. Several people started whispering to each other. Ricky just stared at Graham, shaking his head slowly. That's low, mate. That's really low. You couldn't just decline to have me on the show. You had to turn it into some kind of public execution? I wanted people to see, Graham said. I wanted people to understand why I won't be supporting your work anymore. I wanted to make a statement. A statement, Ricky repeated flatly. You wanted to make a statement using me as a prop. Well, congratulations, Graham. You've made your statement. You've shown everyone what kind of person you really are. Someone who betrays their friends for applause. We're not friends, Graham said coldly. Friends don't spread hate. I don't spread hate, Ricky roared. And several audience members actually jumped in their seats. How many times do I have to say it? I spread jokes. If you can't tell the difference, that's your problem, not mine. The problem is that millions of people listen to you, Graham said. Millions of people hear your jokes and think it's okay to treat others the same way. You have a responsibility whether you want it or not. I have a responsibility to be funny, Ricky said. That's it. That's my only job. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a politician. I'm not a moral leader. I'm a comedian. And if people can't understand the difference between a joke and a genuine statement, that's on them, not me. That's such a cop-out, Graham said. You can't hide behind "it's just comedy" forever, Ricky. Eventually, you have to take responsibility for your impact on the world. My impact on the world is making people laugh, Ricky said. That's a pretty good impact if you ask me. Better than most people manage. Unless you're one of the people being laughed at, Graham said. Then it's not so funny, is it? Everyone gets laughed at sometimes, Ricky said. That's part of life. That's part of being human. We all have flaws. We all have things about us that are ridiculous. Comedy points that out. If you can't laugh at yourself, that's a you problem. But not everyone has the same power to laugh back, Graham said. That's what you don't get. When you mock someone who has a massive platform to defend themselves, that's different from mocking someone who's already marginalized and vulnerable. So what? We should only make fun of people you deem powerful enough, Ricky said. That's absurd. That's not how comedy works. Comedy doesn't have a means test. Maybe it should, Graham said. Maybe you should stick to your boring celebrity interviews and leave actual comedy to people who understand it. Ricky snapped. Graham's face went purple. Get out, right now. I've had enough of you. Oh, I'm going, Ricky said, already moving toward the edge of the stage. I'm definitely going. This has been a complete waste of my time. Good, Graham said. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Ricky stopped and turned back. You know what's really sad about this, Graham? You used to be one of the good ones. You used to understand that entertainment doesn't have to be sanitized and safe. You used to take risks. But now you're just another talking head, too scared to offend anyone, too desperate for approval. It's pathetic to watch. What's pathetic is watching a once great comedian turn into a professional troll, Graham fired back. At least I'm trying to do something positive with my platform. What are you doing? Besides making money off controversy? I'm keeping comedy alive, Ricky said. Real comedy. Dangerous comedy. The kind that actually means something because it's not afraid to upset people. But you wouldn't understand that anymore. You've forgotten what it's like to actually care about the art form more than your image. My image? Graham laughed harshly. Rich coming from someone who's built an entire brand around being offensive. That's all you are now, Ricky. An offensive brand. A walking controversy. And it's boring. It's so bloody boring. Then stop talking about me, Ricky said. If I'm so boring, why dedicate an entire segment of your show to me? Why invite me here just to attack me? Seems like you can't stop thinking about me, mate. Because someone needs to call you out, Graham said. Someone needs to tell you that what you're doing isn't okay. And clearly, nobody in your inner circle has the guts to do it. Or maybe nobody in my inner circle is delusional enough to think that jokes are violence, Ricky said. Maybe they understand the difference between words and actions. Maybe they're not so fragile that a comedy special feels like an attack. This has nothing to do with being fragile, Graham said, his voice shaking again. This has to do with being a decent human being, something you seem to have forgotten how to be. And you're the arbiter of decency now? Ricky said. You? The man who just ambushed a guest on his own show for ratings? The man who planned this whole thing out in advance? That's decent to you? Yes, Graham said firmly. Because sometimes you have to make people uncomfortable to make them understand. Sometimes you have to be harsh to get through to someone. That's literally what I've been saying about comedy, Ricky shouted. That's exactly what I've been saying. Comedy makes people uncomfortable to make them think. But when I do it, I'm a monster. When you do it, you're brave. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. It's not the same thing, Graham said. It's exactly the same thing, Ricky said. You just don't like it when you're not the one in control. This is my show, Graham said. I am in control, and I'm telling you to leave. Happily, Ricky said. He started walking toward the exit, then paused one more time. You know, Graham, I actually feel sorry for you. I really do. Because you've let fear turn you into something small, something cautious, something boring. And that's the real tragedy here. The tragedy is that you can't see what you've become, Graham said quietly. And that's on you, Ricky. That's all on you. Ricky didn't respond. He just shook his head one final time and walked off the stage. The audience sat in stunned silence as his footsteps echoed through the studio. The camera stayed on Graham, who was still standing there, his face flushed, his hands trembling slightly. Well, Graham said finally, trying to compose himself, I think we all need another drink after that. A few people in the audience laughed nervously, but most remained silent. The other guests on the couch looked absolutely shell-shocked, unsure whether to say anything or just stay quiet. Graham sat back down in his chair, picked up his wine glass, and took a long drink. His hand was still shaking. The cameras kept rolling as production staff rushed around in the background, probably trying to figure out what to do next. In the wings, Ricky Gervais could be heard shouting at someone, though his words were muffled. Then a door slammed, loud enough to make several audience members jump. Graham stared at his glass, then at the audience, then at the cameras. For once in his career, the legendary talk show host seemed to have no idea what to say next.